What's up, guys, and welcome to the Combat Corner. My name's Kobe,
I'm Jackson.
and today we will be doing the first episode of Combat Corner. We're going to discuss a few things.
Yeah, we've got a few things to discuss. Like you say, we've got UFC 294 from last week. We've got a bit of the Ngannou versus Fury coming up.
Big one. We're going to discuss John Jones' injury, obviously, big news. Almeida Lewis, that's a big fight night coming up. A bit of an interesting one.
Yeah,
right
definitely.
there.
And last but certainly not least, the beer of today's episode is Orion. Okinawa's Craft.
I've never had it before. Have you?
Neither.
Neither.
Very excited. Let's get into the episode.
Let's get into it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Combat Corner.
So we're back. This is the first time that we're here, and it's going to go out to anyone. But we have been here before.
We've done a test episode, and it went well, and we think we're ready to really get into it. You know?
Yeah. It went well, and then we had some hiccups, and we've kind of been running around all week trying to sort those out. But that's the fun of it, I guess.
Yeah, it is. That's been a lot of the fun of the past 3 or 4 months trying to get this all sorted, and that was kind of like the final teething issues that we got through.
Final hurdle.
Yeah, so we're here now. We're ready to go. We're gonna discuss some really interesting topics for you guys.
Nothing of which we would have discussed last week.
No.
But
we're not recycling old shit.
No, not at all. But anyway,
yeah,
we're here now. Tell us a bit about yourself, Kobe. What got you to this point?
What got me here? My name's Kobe. I got into MMA probably about 8 years ago now, 7 or 8 years ago. I got into it because of Conor McGregor. Basically, he kind of pulled me towards it. All the news that all the attention that he was getting brought me in. I started playing the UFC video game because it was free with the Xbox Game Pass or something like that. And yeah, just from there, barely missed a pay-per-view, barely missed a fight card, try and hit as many as I possibly can. But, you know, being a relative casual, I try my best, and, you know, that's pretty much it. What about yourself, Jackson?
Yeah, I've been a bit of a shorter tenure than you so far. I mean, it's been about probably 3.5, maybe pushing 4 years that I've had quite a strong interest in MMA. It definitely spiked quite a lot in the lockdowns. I remember scrolling through Facebook, and it seemed like the only new sporting events that was still coming out and still being shown highlights of and stuff was the UFC, and so I took quite an interest in it from that. But again, I'm probably a sufferer of the Conor McGregor era as well, and the pull that he kind of had on the sport. But I mean, that's probably a lot of people out there, and as we're both pretty casual fans to this day, it's going to be interesting to see who fills those boots, because there's a few people that
100%. No, yeah, I think you're right. A lot of people did obviously get pulled in by McGregor. He was a huge marketing pull for the UFC, and it's one of the reasons why the UFC is as big as it is today, which is great. But no, yeah. So this podcast is basically going to be more of a kind of laid back take on MMA news and other combat sport news. You know, we don't propose to be absolute experts, but we try our best. And we just want to have a good time. We want to give you guys some good entertainment, basically. We both hail from New Zealand. That's where this podcast is coming from. You know, little humble
Christchurch,
New Zealand. Christchurch. If you probably don't know where that is if you're not from here. But yeah, really hope you guys enjoy. We'll get into the episode, So first of all, we've got a very special announcement to do. This here is a beer that we will be drinking.
It's a beer.
This is a beer. It's a Japanese beer, and this is a feature that we'll be doing on basically every episode. Having a bit of a try at a new drink, and then we'll be looking to rate the drink on our trusty little wall up here. Hopefully, you know, deriving a bit of a top 10 as time goes. So our first one is, what is it?
Orion, Okinawa's Craft, The Draft. It's got a bit of a rhyme to it.
That's
from Okinawa to the world. So that message has come true, really, hasn't it?
It has.
It's all the way over here in New Zealand.
You know,
to the world.
This thing has come a long way.
It has.
Looks like a pretty decent beer. Let's crack it open and get into it. Oh, that was good.
That was good.
Oh, I saw you did it right by the mic.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, come on, man.
This is the.
Some of us are about the production value.
I know. I'm sorry. This is the can, the branding. Looks very cool, actually. I really like the look of this. 5% beer. Very interested to try. What do you think?
It's not too bad.
Ooh, that is quite nice, actually.
It's lovely.
It's
got a bit of a kingfisher kind of taste to it.
It does, that kind of
without
vibe.
being as strong.
Yeah, 5% instead of the 7%. And don't worry, we will be doing Kingfisher at some point. If you know what that is, who knows? But yeah, that's all right, and we'll be supping at that throughout the episode. So just watch out.
Just to keep the mouths lubricated, you know.
Exactly, a bit of social lubricant. For
That's right.
the two of us. You know?
That's right.
We're not used to being on camera. All right, guys.
Some of us.
Some of us. Wait, what?
No. Sweet.
Cool.
So I mean, we've got a bit to talk about from last week. Volk versus Islam, obviously.
Big night. It's had a bit of time to settle in now as well, which
Definitely.
feel a bit more comfortable with the result now. Last week when we discussed it, it was
We were both quite upset.
We were both pretty.
There weren't tears.
upset.
You'll never see the episode, but there weren't tears.
Yeah, no, I didn't cry. I didn't have to change shirt and pants throughout the episode.
So it's had some time to settle in.
It has, yeah. It has.
How do you feel about it now? How do you feel about the whole fight?
Well, so Islam versus Volk. It was tough to watch. We're both big big Volk fans. Don't get me wrong, I'm an Islam fan too. I love the guy. I think he's great. But watching Volk go out like that on a couple weeks' notice, obviously a little bit out of shape, not quite ready to get in there. Just coming off of elbow surgery. It sounds like I'm making all the excuses in the book, and I kind of am. But it was tough watching him go out there and perform in that way, and just not really seem like himself against someone as good as Islam, because he will capitalize on it. If you do
exactly,
and he did, and Islam is extremely impressive.
That's right.
So good.
Like, I agree with everything you're saying, but yeah, at the end of the day, Islam did look exceptional in there, and I don't think it would have mattered who you put across from him. He was going to give them a very difficult time, in that shape at least. And yeah, I definitely agree with you. It was hard seeing Volk go out like that, but he even mentioned it in his post fight press conference that he was feeling a bit crap sitting there on the couch at home, and he needed to get up and do something, and he took that fight on short notice, and ultimately he paid the price.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that it's probably not something we'll see from him again, because yeah, like we've already kind of discussed this a little bit off camera and whatnot, but I think that is the end to that rivalry, which is sad, because the first time there was such a build up for it for months, and all of the press that went on around it, and the fight was in Australia, like it was huge, and this kind of fell together at the last minute, and yeah. So I mean, it's not the result that we wanted, but I mean, it's the result that we got, and Islam is probably very chuffed with himself. And Volk has probably learned a very valuable lesson that you can't step in there in the cage against someone as talented and as brutal, to be quite honest, as Islam, because he capitalize on anything. Yeah,
no, 100%. And that's another thing you touched on in the post-fight interview. You can't go up against someone as good as Islam and expect to do anything on 11 days' notice. I'm not saying this wouldn't have happened if Volk had a full camp. It could have definitely happened, and Islam is just that good. Anyone on any given day he can beat, and he can beat them like that. But it's tough going in there on 11 days' notice against someone as good as Islam and as prepared as Islam, and coming out with the win. And what did you predict to happen before the fight?
I don't really think I had a solid prediction in mind. I mean, obviously, like you say, we're both big Volk fans, so in my heart, I was like I held some hope that he'd go in there and get the job done. But at the same time, like, you can never write off someone like Islam Makhachev. Like, and the fight that they had last time was such a like that's gonna be a massive fight, like Hall of Fame wise, and like in my opinion at least. Like it was going until the last second.
It was, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I knew that Islam was dangerous, and Volk going in there on less than 2 weeks' notice was always going to be tricky. But yeah, I think in my heart, I wanted it to be Volk, and in my head, I kind of felt like it was going to be Islam.
Yeah.
So
I have to agree as well. In my heart, I'd like convinced myself that Volk was going to do it. I could see it
just
happen.
because, especially like last time, after we were all kind of like, oh, I don't know, like Islam was still invincible last time. Remember?
Correct.
He was kind of he'd run through everyone. He'd just steamrolled Charles like in a fight that
No one really gave Volk a chance.
no
Yeah,
one really gave
I
Volk a
definitely
chance. And then he kind of said it. He said it afterwards. Like, those who believed in me, you're like you saw what I'm capable of. And he's like, and those who kind of had their doubts, now they like.
Now they know.
Yeah, now they know. And that was it. Like, that was kind of why I felt like I owed that to him for this fight. Was like, I will believe in you because I wasn't 100% convinced last time. But,
absolutely. And then watching that fight and how it turned out, and then watching him demolish Rodriguez in the next fight back at featherweight, obviously, in the way that he did, like, he just looked untouchable. And it just looked like the perfect thing. Maybe he shouldn't have taken it, and on a full camp it would have been different, but you know, things have played out the way that they have now, and
this is the fight game as well.
This is the fight game, and yeah. Volkanovski still goes down an absolute legend. This changes nothing. He's a champion of the game.
100%.
Same with Islam, obviously. And now what's next? This is the big question on everyone's heads, right? There's a lot of suitors out there for Islam. Volk's obviously got some challenges at 45. And
well, I mean, he could weigh in a pound under.
he could if he wants.
Yeah, he could.
He really could. He shouldn't.
He's that good.
He is that good, and he did weigh under 0.5 of. Oh no, he didn't.
What's next?
Anyway, yeah. So yeah, what's next
for Islam? We've got two options, really, don't we? We've got Charles, and we've got
Conor McGregor,
and we've got Gaethje.
Ah, yeah, right.
I don't. Yeah, can we not bring him up?
Yes. Did you see that thing that DC did? And he was like, "I got the perfect opponent for Islam, Conor McGregor," and it's like, DC, shut up. Yeah. I get, like, all his points were kind of like, I mean, he was really reaching. I get what he was saying.
I mean, you've got to be reaching to give Conor a shot at any belt right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
If there was a TMF, maybe the
money fight.
No, like for Twitter.
Oh, Twitter, motherfucker.
Yeah. But apart from that, he hasn't been doing much else. But yeah. I think Charles or Justin Gaethje.
It's got to be it. Yeah.
But Charles is the guy who deserves it most. I mean, we've talked about this before about how the UFC will a lot of the time make the fight that will make them the most money. So I mean, there's always that on the table, because I think it's tricky though. I mean, Islam versus Charles, Islam versus Justin Gaethje. I mean, they're both big draws. Fights. Yeah. And to be honest, I like Islam versus Charles, because whoever wins that fight, I mean, Islam hasn't fought Gaethje before, but if Charles were to win, then it sets up that rematch with Charles and Gaethje. That's exciting also. So I mean, getting those two to fight really does open up the division a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It's got to be Charles. Charles was given his shot. He didn't lose his shot by losing to someone or proving that he wasn't good enough. He's obviously good enough to challenge. He's beaten off Benny, who was basically the clear number one contender, and he earned that spot rightfully. And then he got injured, which is unfortunate, but run it again. Islam barely took any damage, so he can obviously go relatively soon. Yeah, I think he's before Ramadan he wants to go, which is I don't know when that is. I think it's like mid-year or something.
Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. I think the tricky thing is at the moment is they've got so many fights that need lining up at the moment. I mean, there's obviously middleweight that there's a lot of questions to be answered, and a few other divisions that still don't have title fights confirmed at the moment. And lightweight has been getting a lot of attention lately, so
it has. Yeah.
It'll be tricky, but I'd say a main event maybe sometime around February and March.
Yeah, that would be good.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Chuck Charles in there as long as he's fit and healthy, and winner fights Gaethje. Gaethje doesn't need to fight anyone else, I don't think. He like convincingly knocked out Dustin Poirier.
Oh, very convincingly.
He's the guy that if you beat Poirier, you should get a title shot.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So let him wait out. Islam versus Charles early next year. Islam winner versus Gaethje.
You think Topuria for Volk then?
It's got to be Topuria, and I hope he takes longer off than he is claiming that he's going to take off, because coming back in January, which is 3 months, or did he say February? Which, whatever the case, it's 3 or 4 months. That's not long enough after being knocked out like that.
I had a feeling it was March. I don't know why.
Yeah, well then, yeah, 3,
But I
4,
could be
5
wrong.
months. I don't think that's long enough. Take 6, 7 months off, work through your personal issues that you were having. I know he said he's okay, but if he's getting those kind of issues, you know, when
Yeah,
he's
if
on
you
the
feel
couch,
like you need to get up and fight, like when you've proven to everyone that you're like he's going to be in the conversation for a long time of being one of the greatest fighters of all time.
Yeah.
Like, let alone like the featherweight discussion is done now. He is the greatest featherweight
yeah,
of all time. No, I'm sorry, but that's
he's beaten Holloway and Jose, who are the only other two, in my opinion, that can hold a torch. Obviously, there's McGregor, but that, you know, it's obviously he also beat Holloway and Aldo, but there's no way they're gonna, you know, I don't know.
In terms of
There's
dominance,
four there.
in terms of dominance, it's Volk.
But you got to think Aldo before the UFC, he
Oh.
went on like a 10-fight title win streak. And
Yeah.
that
No,
was before they had featherweight in the UFC, which is pretty crazy. It's a toss-up. I really don't think you can pin one person down in that division as the best of all time. Like I
me, it's
understand
fine.
what you're saying, though. I understand what
For me.
yeah, for you it's
Just
I
for
understand.
me.
For you.
Yeah.
For you. So for you it's Volk, for me it's all four kind of merged into one.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to picture that in my head.
It looked good. Connor's left hand, Aldo's legs, Volk's head,
Yeah, Volk's head.
Holloway's body, and right hand.
I think Volk's respiratory system,
It's yeah. Holloway's
just
also
for
got a pretty
like
decent-
chokes in general,
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Can't be choked.
just for never going out.
But yeah, I mean, for him, it's got to be Topuria. It's got
Yeah.
to be Topuria next. He's kind of, if you feed Topuria to Max, he loses. Then what if are you going to make him fight Max
Do
again?
you reckon he does? I mean, he's looking pretty solid.
He does look good, but Max.
But yeah, Max is
amazing.
kind of he's been the boogeyman of that division in terms of people getting title shots.
Yeah.
And that's why he keeps getting put back in there.
Yeah, exactly, 'cause
They
he is
kind of
that
they
good.
can't find anyone.
The good thing for Max is eventually Volk's going to have to retire, and he's younger than Volk, so he can probably get that title back. He's just got to
He's
wait.
younger than Volk, but
not in fighting years.
That's right. Yeah, he's taken so much damage, man.
He takes a lot of bad damage.
He's taken a lot of damage, but
Yeah, I think
we've got a few other fights to
Topuria.
talk about too. But
Yes,
yeah,
we do.
Topuria versus Volk, Islam
Moving on, I
versus
guess.
Charles.
Yes.
Now we want to talk about the fight that happened, Chimaev versus Usman.
Chimaev versus Usman, big fight. Big fight feel about this fight going into it. A lot of people were saying this was actually a better fight than the Costa fight, you know, without the knowledge of what actually happened. I was kind of thinking the same. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I don't know. I really wanted to see Chimaev up against a middleweight.
Yeah.
And as you know,
was
Usman weighed
beef
in
there.
as a middleweight, but he's not a middleweight.
No, he's
Like I've got a lot of hope for the guy moving up to middleweight, but I mean, like I saw something that Usman said this week about the fact that, you know, Hamzat has had a year and a half almost to
grow into it.
grow into middleweight, and
Yep.
he had a couple of weeks, and he
Yeah.
he didn't look too bad out there. Like he didn't look nearly as big, but he didn't look tiny.
No. That was another thing he said about his confidence as well. I think he, in the first round, he really lacked the confidence.
Yeah.
And he gave him too much respect. And then second, third round, you did see him get going a lot
100%.
more. And you saw him come out of the shell. And I personally thought he won those last 2 rounds.
Yeah, it was very close.
They were.
But it was just so dominant in that first round.
Yeah.
It was hard to kind of oversee, which isn't how the judging is scored. But and from a fight fan perspective, Hamzat did do them more of the damage, I think, and had the bigger moments and really controlled the fight in a way that Usman couldn't.
You could tell he just wasn't ready.
Yeah,
He just wasn't
exactly.
quite ready. But he has the skills to really dismantle
100%.
someone like
And there's so many
Sure.
exciting matchups for him at middleweight.
Yeah, there is.
Opposed to welterweight now. I mean, that's kind of dried up a little bit for him. All of those names that he had kind of a bit of beef with and a bit of rivalry, they're kind of slowly
Kind of
dropping
over.
off.
Let's see a Usman career, what is it, honeymoon or twilight at middleweight. 2 or 3 fights. Let's see if he can get the title. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Stay at middleweight, Usman. Who would you like to see Usman fight next?
I think it's tricky. I don't want to put him in there against a wrestler because I think his striking has grown so much in the last few years, and I think that's that'll be a real test for him, is putting him against maybe someone like Jared Cannonier, someone who's come down from heavyweight and is a big middleweight, and has been proven that he can fight those top contender fights.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've seen him in there against Izzy, we've seen him take a win against Strickland. Whether or not you want to view that as a controversial win or not, but like
close,
he's a very
fight.
good fighter, and he's got rocks for hands, man. And so I think that'd be a good fight for Usman. They're both very high level people, like in terms of their skills. So yeah, that's what I.
Cannonier would be good. He's obviously just got injured, unfortunately. He was supposed to fight Roman Dolidze. I could be getting his name wrong there. It's a weird name. It's a great name. Don't get me wrong. It's a great name,
Roman.
But it's hard to pronounce for us people. But yeah, obviously, yeah, he's got 8 months out. He's getting older, Cannonier. Him against Usman would be extremely exciting. If that can't happen, then Marvin Vettori.
That's another good one.
Paulo Costa, even if
I just want to see Hamzat versus Paulo Costa.
same, because the beef
is great.
The beef is amazing.
It dates back. It dates back to probably 2 years ago now.
Yeah, I'd say so. At the PI, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. That was
Jake
funny,
Shields
man.
there. That was funny, man. The stuff that Hamzat was saying, I won't repeat it on camera because it's a bit not family friendly.
And we're all about being
we're
family
all about
friendly.
that. All about that. We're trying to be.
Get the family around, watch the podcast.
Yeah.
Family friendly.
Have a couple beers.
Yeah, have a couple
with the
brewskis.
boys.
Yeah, okay. So Hamzat versus Costa, Kamaru versus Vittori, Kamaru versus Cannonier. Yeah, I think in the top, we want to put them both up. Someone who's in the top 8, at least in the top 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, 100%. Sorry, I just laughed because you said something and it sounded a bit funny. But that's all right. It's just me being childish and stupid. No, yeah, I fully agree. Someone in the top 8, top 10. Apparently, Chimaev's getting a title shot. I don't personally want.
I don't rate that,
but yeah, it looks like it's going to happen. Dana's really pushing that a lot.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, when going a little bit off topic, but when Sean beat Izzy, it was kind of a bit of a feel from Dana that he didn't really like that result.
You could see it on his face.
Yeah.
He went Dana pink and had a little didn't like it.
He looked very upset wrapping that belt around
horrible,
him.
Man.
But like another thing that we also discussed in the test episode last week was we both don't feel like Chimaev deserves that after fighting someone like Kamaru, one of the best welterweights of all time.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Has he ever fought at middleweight before?
I don't think so.
No.
Not
at least in the
not at top level.
No. And Chimaev's a top level guy.
Yeah.
But I really
he's a
think we need to
middleweight.
see him against a middleweight before he can go in there and have a
Rebook
shot at
Costa.
himself.
Rebook Costa early next year. Do it early next year or as soon as you can. Honestly, give Duplessis to Strickland. That is the perfect fight. That is what needs to happen, really, because he's the number 1 contender and he should be fighting the champion. But
yeah, I think that's fair.
2 guys that the UFC don't like, Strickland and Duplessis, they're not going to match them together to give them a belt.
Why
you know
don't they
what I
like Duplessis?
I don't know. It's just it's strange Dana politics with Duplessis because he didn't take that fight against Izzy because he had an injury.
Yeah,
but
Dana kind of took that to heart.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah,
took that to heart. But then there's so many other people who, if they did that, if that happened to them, I'm trying to think of an example. For example, Chimaev fighting Strickland. Chimaev's next up, no matter what, even though he might have broken his hand. That's an excuse, right? That's the same excuse that Duplessis had, and they just skipped straight over him and forgot about him.
Yeah.
Chimaev's popular. They think he can beat Strickland. They think he's going to be a big cash cow.
Yeah.
Here you go. You can do whatever you want. Go get surgery. We'll do it in 8 months. They're not going to risk that opportunity.
In terms of like risky personalities, though, I probably would view Hamzat as a more risky personality than Sean.
Yeah,
because that was a big media thing after Sean became the champion. Was like, oh, the UFC better watch out now. What's he gonna say? Who's he gonna offend? And since then, he hasn't done all that much.
He's been pretty quiet. Maybe they've said something.
He's been on a podcast. He's been on a few podcasts and said some pretty outlandish shit, but that's nothing out of the ordinary for him from beforehand. And Hamza, he's pretty wild, man. He'll say.
Well, I think the
things.
thing about Strickland that really pushes the UFC over the line is when he talks about the likes of UFC, the fighter pay and stuff like that, and talking about the UFC and kind of giving off signals that maybe it's not the best place to be, kind of hinting at that kind of side of things. Is maybe what Dana.
He also
doesn't
does turn that whole thing around at the very end of those spiels normally and says like he would not be he wouldn't be
true.
anything
That is
without.
true.
Yeah, so I mean that's
So Walker and Ankalaev, that was a interesting fight to say the least. It wasn't
that
really
is
an
the
interesting
least you
fight,
could
was
say.
it? Yeah.
No, it sucked.
It did suck. It wasn't even a fight.
No,
It
that
wasn't
was
even a fight.
like
We got
yeah.
more action after it was called off.
yeah, that was interesting.
That was interesting. Seeing Dana get in there like, whoa, come on.
Yeah, come on, guys, calm down. No, it was disappointing, man. That was a really exciting matchup. Both of those guys have they're both at kind of a bit of a tipping point in the light heavyweight division. They could be in that conversation for a kind of title contender kind of match or something like that.
Well,
but
that's kind of what it was, right? That was kind of.
yeah, I don't know. I
next.
think there may have been another fight in it for Johnny before a shot at the belt. Ankalaev maybe not so much. He has kind of proven.
He did fight for it.
He did
His
fight
last
for
fight,
it, and it was
very close.
It was very close.
Some
Well, it
people
had to
would
be
say
to
that
be
he
a
won.
draw. I'd
Yeah.
say he won.
Yeah, same. It was close, but yeah, I'd
Yeah.
say he did win.
It's a tough fight to score, and it really does come down to the whole judging debate that everyone's been having lately on how it really works and how some fights can be it just doesn't make a lot of sense a lot of the time. But Ankalaev versus Johnny Walker, terrible call in my opinion. I think there needed to be a bit more time put into that, and a bit more effort because it didn't look like there was much of that going on.
No. It looked like the doctor really rushed his decision.
Yeah.
They've got 5 minutes for a reason. Johnny also apparently was cooperating with him. He asked him where he was, and he said in the desert, fighting in the desert, which technically that is where he is.
Yeah, if I was a Brazilian speaking broken English, that's probably the answer I'd give too.
Yeah.
I think the only positive we can take out of this is it easily sets up who they're fighting next because it should be a rematch.
That's easy for us, right? We don't have to play matchmaker here too much. It's going to be a rematch. Straight on to the next one, and fingers crossed we can get a better fight out of it. That's enough said, really.
I think so.
It is what it is. It's one of those fights that, it's just a shame that it went the way it did. And, on to the next.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, so other than that, from that card, there was a few other fights. Obviously, Ikram Aliskerov, the man who has fought Chimaev in the past and got viciously knocked out with an extremely amazing uppercut.
Quickly summon that up. He looks great.
He
He should be fighting in someone of a bit higher caliber. Saeed Nurmagomedov, another great fight.
100%. He was good too.
Another very dominant performance.
Yeah.
But
second minute he got the finish, which is insane. Same with Aliskerov.
Yeah.
Third minute, he got the finish. Both round one. Super impressive, both those guys.
And there's not really much to say about either of their opponents.
They were just very impressive.
Yeah.
Alves, obviously former title challenger, but he's a natural 170 pounder. It is what it is at that point.
Another guy moving up a weight class.
Another guy moving up. I think he was a replacement. No, yeah, he was a replacement. So, he did what he needed to do. Now it's time to chuck him in the top 15. Top 15 or top 10. Chuck him in there. Let's see how he goes. He looks very impressive. Yeah, exactly. Same with Saeed. Let's move him up. Let's get him a good opponent.
And there's plenty of matchups at bantamweight at the moment
there
as
is.
well. There's that top 10 are all guys that could have one or two fights and be in there for a title shot. Like
100%.
It's a very competitive division, and he is looking like a very competitive fighter.
He is. Fingers crossed. Just touching on Nurmagomedov. Fingers crossed his gas tank has been improved. We didn't really get to see much of it. Obviously, he seems a bit like a fighter that if he finishes you in the first round, great. But if you get him out of that first round, he struggles. So fingers crossed because he can be a real player at bantamweight if he has figured out that issue.
But that will be the next big question. I think we'll have to answer. We put him in there against. There's plenty of capable wrestlers and jiu-jitsu guys in the top 15. Yeah, the top 15. And I think if we put him up against someone like that who does have the skills to get through a first round with him, it will be interesting to see how he goes.
Yeah, 100%. That's I fully agree. So Both excited about both those guys, but I really don't think we learned all that much. Saeed's been knocking around for a bit now, beating guys, struggling in the later rounds.
But this is what we want to see from them at this point as well. They're both
young
still fairly new to the UFC, so I mean, this is kind of the treatment that most fighters who have shown some potential get when they get in. But
100%,
yeah, like we've both agreed on here, we need to see them up against someone a bit more challenging and see how they deal with that adversity.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
Yeah, moving on.
We've got a blockbuster event tomorrow.
We do. It's a big one. It's a big one. I think a lot of people will be watching this fight with kind of, I don't know how to kind of describe it. It doesn't feel like McGregor Mayweather.
No.
Even though it's similar.
It feels more like Logan Paul versus Mayweather.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's strange because looking at it from like an analytical point of view, obviously Conor had the chance to knock out Mayweather. He did. He's got that left hand, and if he lands it on anyone's chin, they're going to sleep. But looking at this one, if Ngannou lands on Fury, there's a much bigger chance that he's going to sleep.
He could
gets
kill
the
him.
Win, right? Yeah, he could. We've all seen him in the UFC.
I agree with you.
But there's less hype around this fight and less intrigue than there was with Conor Mayweather.
Yeah.
Both going up against one of the best boxers of all time as an MMA fighter in their debut as a boxer.
That's right.
But people are giving Ngannou less props of what he could potentially do, which is interesting to me.
It's because he's not a UFC champ anymore.
Well, yeah, that's probably it, right?
That's the thing.
He's lost a lot of stock.
He's lost a lot of stock, and when this fight was originally rumored, Francis was the UFC heavyweight champion of the world, and there was no one that could argue with him at that time. You know, there was still a couple of questions on people that were coming up through that division, but I think
everyone wanted to see him against Jones, right?
Everyone wanted to see him against Jones. That is the ultimate kind of question that unfortunately I don't think will ever get answered.
No,
but
definitely not.
If we do get a chance to answer it, come to the combat corner and we'll break the fight down for you before it happens.
This is the corner.
But yeah, the thing is, he's not a UFC champion anymore. He's lost a lot of stock.
Yeah,
when it was McGregor versus Mayweather, he was
at the top. That was
he was at the peak of his career.
Peak of McGregor mania.
When this fight, like I was saying, when this fight was originally rumored, Ngannou versus Fury, he was at the top of his game. Now he's contracted to the PFL. He hasn't had a fight since he fought Cyril Gane.
2 years ago,
probably about 2 years ago now, which was a good performance. We saw a lot of wrestling from him, but I'm sorry, he's going into a boxing ring against probably one of the top 5 best heavyweight
potentially
boxers.
The best heavyweight of all time.
Yeah,
some people definitely would consider him as
John Fury would.
John Fury definitely.
Did you see the press conference?
Yeah, that was hilarious. Well, I mean, John Fury's funny, but he's getting a bit on my nerves.
Yeah.
Now it's like, just calm it.
He's calling out Mike Tyson.
Yeah, and he named his son after Tyson. Now he wants to fight because he's like, I would fight any man who whatever. Like, have some respect for the other guy's trainer. Just leave it. Just let them fight, man. Just calm down.
It's like that dad on the rugby field. Do you know what I mean? Who's standing on the sidelines and just screaming
looking for someone else's dad.
Yeah, I'm looking for someone else's dad. He said, "It's my dad.
Fuck out.
My dad would beat up your dad." Kind of energy.
And
it's like, quite frankly, just
his son's a grown man.
Grow up, man.
Tyson Fury is a grown man, let alone Tommy Fury. He's also a grown man.
Both grown men.
And he's just there all the time with his shirt off and his little mustache, and he's like trying to fight.
A bit of a handlebar going on this time. Yeah, he looked pretty threatening.
But yeah, interesting press conference, as always is when John Fury is involved. Honestly, though, like, I've been thinking about something, and I think that this might be another reason why it's not quite as hyped as it could potentially be. Obviously, with the reason that you gave, 100% that is true. But also, potentially, people have seen Fury against the knockout puncher in Deontay Wilder, and they saw the way he handled him. And now they're looking at it, and they're thinking, this is a slower, worse boxer with, similar, probably slightly better knockout power. Tyson knows how to deal with this guy.
He does.
And he's done it 3 times against an actual boxer.
Deontay was bigger as well, wasn't he?
I think he's taller, longer reach, I'd say. And Ngannou's, I don't doubt that he's got more knockout power, and if he lands clean, he can knock out anyone. But Fury has dealt with this.
Fury has
many
dealt with
times
this, and
against actual boxers.
another thing you and I had a discussion about as well was the fact that with those bigger gloves, there is a much larger guard, and with a
Correct,
much
yeah.
larger guard, it's going to be a lot harder for Francis to land clean, and
Especially,
to get Tyson out of there.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's going to be really difficult for him. Look, I'd love to see him win. It is
we
going
all
to be
would.
interesting. Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
insane if he won. If he knocked him out, it'd be insane. But doing what he's done against UFC guys, and when he's knocked out those guys, he's not had the best technique, especially like against like Rosenstrike, for example. If you just swing like that, he's just going to get his guard up, get out of the way, and then he's going to counter you, and he's going to counter you and counter you, hit to the body, slow you down, and then he's going to finish you.
Yeah.
It's not an easy game, obviously. Good on Francis for getting the bag, but
That's the thing. That's what I wanted to say, to be quite honest, is win or lose,
he did it.
he did it. He's fighting the greatest heavyweight on the planet in terms of boxing right now, and he still believes, as he should, to be honest. I mean, there's a few skeptics out there, like the John Jones, like we say, it's a question that we won't get an answer to, but he is questionably the best MMA heavyweight on the planet right now.
Yeah.
So it's a head-to-head matchup of the two baddest men on the planet,
Yeah.
and that's what it was. That's what it was marketed as a few years ago when they were trying to make it then. But
Exactly, and
that's
that's
what
what
I
we
think
want to
we've
see.
missed in the marketing now. So yeah, it's a really interesting fight, and hats off to Francis. He's going to get the biggest payday he will ever receive,
He's probably going to earn more in this one fight than
he has in his whole career.
Definitely, he
Yeah.
will. 100%.
and to come from where he's come from, man, that is a story in of itself. Like he has had some hard losses, but he picks himself up and he takes the positive things out of them, and he keeps building his character to be a stronger and stronger person, so that he can go out and he can take these matchups. Like there's not many people out there in the world who would look at their career in a certain area and look over to someone who's been doing, boxing their whole life and go, yeah, I could get in there and dance around with them.
No, there's not many people. It's impressive. His confidence and his character is extremely impressive, and unlike a lot of other crossover matches where you see like the Nate Diaz pulling a guillotine and
I don't think we'll see any of that from
he won't
Francis.
do that. He's got too much respect for himself.
He's got
He
too
wants
much
a
respect
proper
for himself,
fight.
and he has too much respect for his opponents.
Yeah.
He's a
This is
very
a legit
respectful
boxing
guy.
fight.
Yeah,
It really is. People obviously love to say that it isn't, but it is. It's a legit boxing fight, and we're going to see two of the best heavyweights in the world in their respective fields go out there and knock it out. And fingers crossed we see a good fight. Fingers crossed, Francis really does well, and all props to the guy. I honestly don't know anything about the undercard. I don't even know if there is one. There will be, but
there will be. But
that's the thing. That's another thing about this fight. It's not been marketed very well.
No. Well, that's boxing in general, though. I mean, like boxing, you never hear about the undercard. I mean, unless you're talking these like YouTube events where, like, there's no undercard to this. The main draw is obviously this fight. I mean, you could surely let us know if this is offending you and there's someone on the undercard that you're a big fan of and we missed them out. But
any boxing
quite
fanatics,
frankly, that's not our specialty.
No.
We're here for Francis. We're here to see how he can do against Tyson Fury. Obviously, Tyson's a very exciting fighter to watch nonetheless, whether we're boxing fans or not. But that's, like you say, that's all we've heard about this card. And I'm not going to dig any deeper. That's all I want to say.
No, I think we've got it all out there. Like, please leave a comment or leave your feedback of what you think is going to happen in this fight. Personally, my prediction is mid to later rounds. I think Fury will get the finish.
Yeah, I'll be sitting on the edge of my seat for the first 3 rounds.
Yeah,
just kind of with the slight thought that Francis is in there and he's got a hell of a right hand.
You couldn't pay me to take a punch like that. You couldn't pay me to take a punch like that.
No, hell no. But yeah, after those first 3 rounds, I think it's going to be all about Tyson's footwork and all about how
we've seen Ngannou gas.
And exactly. We have seen Ngannou gas, and boxing is probably it's going to do that to him. Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens. But yeah, like I say, leave a comment, please. We'd love to hear what your feedback is on this fight. That would be great.
Definitely.
We're extremely excited, but it is what it is at this point.
That's
it's
right.
going to be a bit of fun, and that's pretty much it. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, I mean, we brushed over him a couple of times in that discussion there, but
did.
John Jones getting a pectoral injury
Yes.
just a couple of weeks before his big fight against Stipe Miocic.
Yeah, that's it sucks really. If I'm completely honest, it does suck.
It does.
It's not any good news. Obviously he's going to be out for about 8 months.
It's a long time.
It's a long time.
And man, like, we've seen a lot of that in those heavier divisions in the last couple of years. How many times has injuries prevented fights at light heavyweight and heavyweight as well? Like,
knocking people out of the title. Yeah, it's really been, both those divisions have been a little bit haunted recently.
Nightmare to be a matchmaker for those divisions at the moment.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's a nightmare. It would be. Like, obviously we got a great fight to replace it in Pavlovich versus Aspinall. That's a great fight. It's a fight that I really wanted to see.
Yeah.
It's just a shame that fight couldn't go ahead because and I completely agree with Dana that it is a massive disrespect to even offer Miocic an interim fight against one of those guys. It's just not fair, I don't think, to be like, look, Miocic, you haven't fought for a couple of years. You're one of the best heavyweights of all time. You're one of our biggest legends. We've made a lot of money off you. We want you to fight this up-and-coming, hungry guy to give you a chance to potentially fight John Jones. Stipe wants to fight John for the legacy. Same with John. He wants to fight Stipe for the legacy. What happens after that is whatever, but I think it's good the way they're doing it.
Yeah, I agree with you. There have already been rumors about Stipe being removed from the roster, but I think
I saw that.
Yeah, there's been a lot of that going around on Twitter, but yeah, I don't think we'll see that. I think hopefully he is given the chance to stick around and get that fight. But I mean, it's tricky because once you've got that interim belt taken care of, and either Tom or Sergey have that belt, you've kind of got to make the next fight them versus John Jones, don't you? You can't wait around for John to get healthy, match him up against Stipe, see who wins that, and then
hope that one of them's healthy. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think it's really tricky, man.
It is tricky, and the way that they've done it is interesting. I think personally, this is just it's all speculation, but I think what's going to happen is the winner of Aspinall versus Pavlovich will, after John Jones and Stipe fight, there's a potential that both of them retire. Maybe that interim winner becomes the champion just after that fight. Seems like that could potentially happen, right?
That is another thing, yeah. I mean, we heard rumors right after the Cyril Gane fight that Jones might be retiring.
Yeah, like one more fight maybe or whatever. Yeah.
And this Stipe fight does seem kind of like the legacy fight you'd want to walk out on.
100%. Beat the heavyweight goat.
That's right.
Walk off into the hills. Same for Stipe. Beat John Jones or lose to John Jones. It doesn't matter for either of these two. They want to fight each other. They want to bang it out. We want to see it. Cool. But I kind of can't wait for this all to be over and just have a heavyweight champ who's knocking down contenders.
That's it.
It would be good,
Yeah.
It's just one of those divisions now where it's
been held up for way too long.
Yeah.
Like Ngannou being the champ and then going through his contract negotiations for however long that went on for.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
It felt like years.
It was years. It felt like years because it was years.
It was literally
years. And how many title fights have we had in the heavyweight division in the last 3 years?
Maybe 2, 3 pushing it. If that last Stipe and Ngannou fight was within the last 3 years, which I don't think it was, maybe around 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So we've had 2.
You look at all of the other divisions.
No, it's not.
It's
kind of like you look at light heavyweight as well.
Light heavyweight has been slow, but it hasn't been that slow, man.
No, it's not been slow necessarily, but it's a mess. There's nothing solid there, nothing concrete. Like in heavyweight for a while, we had Stipe as the champ, then we had DC as the champ, then we had Stipe as the champ, then Francis. It was like it was all going. Now it's like blah. And in light heavyweight, we had Jones as the champ. Obviously, he left. We had Jan as the DC before him. Yeah, obviously, and Blashovich. He was obviously the champ for a wee bit. Glover won it off him, and then we had Yuri, and then Yuri got injured. And then
there's been so many changes. Yeah, it's hard to keep track, but
fingers crossed we can get some stability.
It does. Well, stability's good, but yeah, I do like the changing of the torch. I think there's definitely a time and place for it, and I think now is probably that time trying to figure out who that guy, like, because we see it, and like we were talking about featherweight earlier. Volk is just levels above Holloway, who seems to be levels above everyone else.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's no one in that light heavyweight division at the moment who has kind of put themselves up there on that pedestal to be like, I am, like, we haven't seen that from anyone. But when we do, yeah, it will be nice.
It'll be
but
good.
At the moment, I'm enjoying everyone slugging it out, trying to...
It is
Yeah.
quite dramatic, and I suppose we've had these situations before. Like, a good example would be lightweight when McGregor won the belt. Then he went and fought Mayweather, and it was a whole hold up at the top, and Khabib won the title off. Even before that, there was an interim belt that Tony won, and then Khabib beat. Tony got injured, got stripped. Khabib beat Iaquinta, and then Khabib eventually fought Conor for the title, and it was kind of all came right at that point. So in the next year or so, we will see these divisions come right. It's just been insane to see the mess that they have become. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
And I think introducing all these big names back into the mix wouldn't help either.
yeah,
I mean, you've got the same thing with light heavyweight as well. Like, some of these guys now are big names. Like, Jerry Prohaska is now a big name.
he is
Jamal
very
Hill,
popular.
a couple years ago, no one would have really thought twice. He's a big name.
Won the title.
Alex Pereira,
Yeah.
ex-middleweight champ now, another big name. There's so many guys. And then, John Jones, Stipe Miocic, these guys that we haven't seen fight in so long. Obviously, we had Jones earlier in the year. But what I'm saying is recently, these guys all coming through, it makes it so difficult to keep matching them up against people that will keep them relevant and keep them fighting and keep them interested. Because, like you say, putting Stipe up against Sergey Pavlovich, no thanks.
No. Especially, I mean, Stipe could definitely win that fight. 100% he could. But
no.
he's like 40, 39, 40.
He's not...
It doesn't seem fair to him.
They're not in it for the same reason at the moment.
No.
You know, Stipe's there to cement something that he worked so hard to kind of, put out there. He was the greatest heavyweight of all time. And, Sergey, like you say, is a young, hungry guy who was just walking through everyone. They're on different paths. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sucks to see someone like that go out on a terrible loss,
You want to see him fight Jones.
Yeah.
We want to see him fight Jones. Even if he loses to Jones, it's not a big
100%.
deal, you know?
100%. But that injury, that didn't look nice.
No, it didn't. It looked like a big one.
It's torn away from the bone. I hear that's,
So apparently he's going into surgery this week. So 8 months is roughly predicted to be the time frame that he'll be out for, and then he'll be able to compete, hopefully, in 8 months. So, we'll see what happens. Wishing John Jones the best, obviously. Get through that surgery, come back, fight Stipe, walk off into the hills, man. You've done it all. Same with Stipe.
And then in 20 years' time, fight Francis Ngannou on an exhibition match.
Exactly. Because both of them have ran out of money. So we need to fight.
It'll be in VR, though.
Yeah, VR. in the metaverse.
Yeah.
We want to see Jones versus Ngannou
In the Coliseum.
in the Coliseum when they're both 50, but they're actually 20 because
Yeah.
it's in VR. And they're at their peak. Jones is, doing coke and all this stuff. Francis is in the sand mines, bashing it out right there, right then.
100%.
Francis has just got to the US.
Yeah.
Jones is on blow on a nightclub.
He's
They bump
taken
into
out-
each other.
yeah.
20 years old.
Boom.
VR. Mark Zuckerberg, I want it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, should we move on?
I think we should.
Let's talk about Almeida versus Lewis. So, upcoming fight night, Almeida versus Lewis. We'll brush over this one briefly. It's a smaller fight night, good main event. Almeida looking dangerous with the jiu-jitsu and the takedowns. Lewis
Can get up. Lewis
said,
can get up.
Lewis can just stand up. You know this. We all know this. So I don't know why Almeida would even fight him.
I mean,
Predetermined.
we're going to answer those questions tomorrow.
Yes.
But, Derek Lewis, the most knockouts in UFC history. Is it UFC history or is it heavyweight?
I think it's UFC history.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Either way, it's an incredible feat. Whatever it may be.
Yeah, whichever one that is.
Yeah, but he's another guy that
I
we've
think it's
seen
UFC
kind of.
history.
Yeah,
It is.
we have seen him have a couple of rough fights lately. Once we saw him take that loss against Tai Tuivasa, it kind of did look a little bit uncertain there for a while. But he is coming off a win, I believe, in his last fight. Who was that against?
Douglas Lima, I believe.
Yes.
No, not Douglas Lima. Lima, something de Lima, or something. He knocked him out.
It was a convincing victory. I remember that nonetheless. I
flying knee.
may not be able to remember Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That was a great fight.
He looked like Jorge Masvidal out there.
He did.
It was
He had
incredible.
the pace. He had the power.
Yeah.
He looked great.
That's
This
right. It
weekend
was
it's
over
gonna
in
be a
about a
struggle.
minute, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's looking in good form. He definitely hasn't lost his spark.
No, absolutely not. He's still the old Derek Lewis that we're used to. I believe, and honestly, I believe he's going to get it done. I think we're going to see a Derek Lewis knockout first round. Obviously, Almeida's dangerous as all hell. He is brilliant from what we've seen of him. But Derek Lewis, he's got that knockout power. I'm going with Lewis.
Yeah, I'd like to see Lewis get it done. And yeah, I think he will. Like you say, he's got that knockout power. He has shown that for whatever reason, jiu-jitsu doesn't seem to work on him.
Multiple times.
Yeah, like you say, Almeida is a threat on the ground, and yeah, it could be interesting if it gets to the ground. But yeah, we'll see tomorrow, won't we?
No, we will. Great fight. It's going to be entertaining. Another good fight on the card is Gabriel Bonfim. His brother is also in the UFC. He's 15-0. Very talented guy. I believe all of his fights in the UFC have come by first round finish due to a guillotine choke.
Wow.
He's fighting Nicholas Dalby. Big step up in competition. Dalby's obviously a decent welterweight who's been at least near to the top 10, top 15, potentially in there a couple times. Good fight. French guy. Yeah.
I'm glad you know these guys. That's what I'll say about this co-main.
Good.
Yeah,
You'll enjoy it. You should watch it.
I will be watching.
Bonfim is good, man. He's good.
I have no doubt that these guys are good. I just
15-0. You know?
In all honesty, my research has been top notch this week.
Oh, the other Bonfim is on the card. He's lower on the card. Ismail Bonfim. We'll just pop up what we're looking at because we can do that. We've got the card up
Very
here, obviously. Luis Almeida and then Bonfim Dalby. We've got Ferreira versus Mize. Abus, he's back again versus Borrello. That'll be a good one. These two guys look impressive. Hopefully Magomed can work through his issues that he had. That last fight looked pretty shocking versus good old Sean Strickland.
That's right. Yeah.
Bonfim, this is the other guy. This is his brother.
Bro.
He's good. He's got some knockout power. He knocked out Terrence McKinney with a flying knee. Curtis Blades obviously was supposed to fight Almeida, but that obviously got cancelled.
Yeah.
Decent fight night card. Nothing to run home about. We will be tuning in, but you know it's a bit of one of those, you know.
100%. Yeah.
A lot of stuff coming up with the UFC this year to finish out 2023. Anyway, let's move on to the most important part of the video. We will now be reviewing the alcoholic beverage that we have been consuming throughout the video. Orion.
I've enjoyed it, mate.
I've enjoyed it too.
I mean, it's not quite all gone because I've been savouring every moment of it.
Yeah.
It's a nice beer.
It's not the best one I've ever had.
No. See, if I were binge drinking it, which I don't do, if I were binge drinking it, then I think I would struggle. But just a nice something a bit different to sip through.
Yeah.
While you're recording a podcast about MMA with your friend. You know, if you don't have that kind of setting, it might be a bit difficult.
If you don't have friends, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. And we're here for you.
Yeah, reach out. Honestly, we have no fans, so we'll probably reply.
Yeah, we need friends as well.
We do.
But yeah, nice beer.
It is. It's a good beer.
Yeah. I'm going to give that a 6.8 out of 10.
6.8. Oh, okay. So I'm going to alter my score. I was going to give it an 8, but because you gave it a 6.8, I think maybe I'm going a bit too high.
I have very high hopes for this segment.
6 is the average.
6 is an average beer, definitely.
Yeah. 6 is an average beer. 5 is below average. Even though, yeah. And so out of 10, I'm going to give it a 7 point. I'm just going to give it a 7. To keep
7 flat.
7 flat.
Very honest.
Yeah. So I'll give it a 7. So good beer. I would drink it again. Similar to what you said.
What kind of price are we looking at per can there, Kobe?
These are $5.50 each. That's New Zealand, so in US dollars, that's about $3. $3 for a can.
We always convert everything into US dollars.
Yeah, just because, you know, that's potentially our main audience.
Yeah.
We know how you guys love your ethnic people. Yeah, good beer. It's going to go up there as number one for now, because we haven't done this before. So the Orion
This is the best beer we've
one.
had on this podcast.
It is. It is.
Hands down.
Hands down. Absolutely hands down. Let's see what we do next week, eh? So
I think I gave we rated a Victoria Bitter last week
yeah.
on our practice episode that you'll never see, and I think I gave that a 4.
yeah, you gave it. I think I gave it a 5.
Yeah, so we are honest about these. A 6.8. That is a fairly decent review. You should be happy with that, Orion.
You should.
We know
And
you're
if you
watching
wanna
this in
sponsor
Okinawa.
us, if they want to pay us money to, honestly, if any of these beer companies want to pay us any money,
That would be
please.
great.
I'd love
And then
money.
we could just drink your beer and
we'll sell
say
out
nice
and
things
you cut
about
the
it.
content.
That's right.
Anyway, guys, moving on. Thank you very much for watching this episode of the podcast. If you got this far, extra thank you. This is our first episode. Hopefully we did all right.
And if you just skip to the end, thanks again as well. Thanks for watching the outro. We really appreciate that.
Yes.
Thanks for
thank
not
you
just
very
shutting
much.
it off altogether. Just let us finish things off on our own terms, you know?
Yeah. Just, you've got to watch every episode. If you don't, we'll
We'll find you.
find you.
Anyway, subscribe, all that cringy stuff that you say at the end of a video. But
Leave any comments with any feedback. We'd actually really appreciate feedback. Anything we could do
100%.
better. Any recommendations for us? This is a new thing, so we do look to improve every episode. Please, again, I double down. Like, subscribe, comment. It really helps. Hope you have a wonderful day.
yeah, peace.
Thank you very much.